Before we get into like some of your last writing that I really loved about the smart city or the failed smart city Konza, let's kind of give a brief history lesson for some people. So on December 12th, 1963, Kenya declared that its independence from Britain. So for a long time it was under colonial rule, through the UK, but then now through that, after the independence, it wasn't necessarily utopia. After that, a lot of things happened. You had mentioned in a lot of your writing with the Kenyatta, et cetera. But I don't want to really, get too far on that. But I want to get to kind of the vestiges, like we began this conversation, of the vestiges of colonialism or the vestiges of the past and history. And you had talked about, African governments keep just burning money, planning smart cities. There's these McKinsey kind of blueprints, or these firms come in and kind of promise the moon or the universe or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you get the ongoing development and construction of it. And then after almost a decade, it hasn't really panned out. So I don't know if you want to tell briefly about, that kind of historical prestige, going into that. And then also like what has been kind of what's going on presently, with these kind of like failed governmental, contracts and things like that, and politics in general. Because that was a very interesting thing, and that was honestly the first thing that I wrote or I read of yours. What was that essay? So very interesting, and for me, going into the technological kind of ethics space and stuff like that, and STS, it was almost like a light bulb moment to me. Like, oh wait, all those ongoing developments in other countries. Like, of course, I thought about it in the West, but I totally kind of missed me on things in other parts of the world that the promises are still going out there and things are being built, but then a lot of things are failed promises or not up to snuff. So I guess just kind of talk on that, and we can continue from there.
So I think like part of the process of a nation state coming into itself is like just like have all these myths of itself, and like one of the myths is that like we're going to like have a new city or like a new town or like a new center. Sure. And like when like all these African like states got independence in like the 1950s and 1960s, a lot of them were like, we're going to have a new city, completely new city, we're going to build it up, whatever. And then like there was some, and not just like African cities, I guess like sometimes for like practical reasons. So Brasilia, which was like, okay, we're going to have a continuous capital city. Like the thing happening in Indonesia, where apparently Jakarta is sinking into the ground each year, and each year is becoming more unlivable. So like Indonesia has to like build like a new city.
Wow. I knew about Brasilia though. They just made that in the 60s. Like, yeah.
The Jakarta thing is like the one which is like the city is literally sinking because it was built on a slab or something. It's literally sinking down. Or like the city in North Korea with like all these wide roads, but nobody, no pedestrians, no cars, nothing, right? So I remember when Konza City was announced, it was like, oh, Kenya's going to be a smart city.
Right.
And of course, like, didn't know what the hell a smart city was, right? It was just like a smart city. And then like after that, a chain of like other countries. But I think Mauritius had been the first, and then Kenya, and then like a chain of other countries were like, we are also going to do smart cities. Let's have smart cities. Smart cities are like to show that like we belong in this like tech dominated 21st century.
Yep.
But then like, so when I started writing it, like I was like, I didn't know, it was just like all these cities were like promised, but none of them exist, right? There's like the ones promised by governments, and then like there's like the weird chain of cities promised by Econ, where it's like I'm going to build Econ City in Senegal, and then another Econ City in Uganda, and I'm going to have like currency, Econ money or something. Yeah, and then like reading all these things and like discovering like this story information about like smart cities in Asia, right? And the discovery that like the idea of smart cities is one of like the things that like that proved to me that like this like identity of African is very shaky, because like that is not an African thing or like a nation thing. It's a thing that is like driven by like the shift in economic policy, to like a more conservative like type of economics, right? So
Sure.
like the collapse of oil, whatever in the 70s, and then Thatcher and Reagan, and like all that stuff,
Yep.
right? And of course, like the big bad was like everywhere is McKinsey. Um, and so discovering that like all these projects, like most of these projects, it's McKinsey blueprints. It's like, and reading like the projects and like they're all very similar to each other. Sure,
Sure.
place names are changed, right? Like one is set in Kenya, one is set in Rwanda, or one is set in India, or like something, right? But discover that like they're all like being pushed by either McKinsey or KPMG or like a string of influential
Mm.
neoconservative um, consultancies, right? And so like the basic tenet underpinning all these things is like this like global economic power structure and how like it has to like spread like all over the globe, right? I think it was Marisa Keegan showed an essay about wondering like why all of our classmates at TL are going to work in management consultancies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so like at the time I'm writing this essay, like that's like the first time like it started to click to me that like, oh, all these friends I have who like went to Harvard or Yale or whatever, they're all working in management consultancies. Like,
Yep.
like there's something I'm missing, right? It's like
Something. Yep.
I thought people wanted to become doctors or scientists or like, but like they're all like becoming management consultants.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so like let's discover that like these smart cities are like it's a global thing. It's like
Yep.
young people who go to like Harvard or Yale from the US who like a lot of them will end up at management consultants. Also like young people from Kenya and like from Nigeria and from like South
Yep.
Africa. So of course like the thing can never accuse like this management consultancies of is like a lack of diversity. That's not something you can accuse them of, right?
Yep.
But then like reading about the smart cities and being like, um, and not just some smart cities and like I think in Kenya, like one of the things about like Kenya and about Nairobi is that like Nairobi has a lot of shopping malls, like
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
I've heard. I've never been,
Yeah.
but I've heard.
And then like stumbling onto this McKinsey paper from 2008 or 2007 saying how um the middle class in Africa is rising. And like this
Mm-hmm.
new middle class is going to like have money to burn to spend on retail and hospitality. So the thing you've got to do as investors is make hotels and malls. And that's just like, oh shit. It's like that's why there are malls in Kenya. And then like all the things about like
Right.
some random doctor, I think someone in Cameroon or something, I don't remember the country. She was saying how like I don't remember the consultancy in question, but so like they come in and like they're advising her on like how to like do the healthcare well, this and this not working. And
Yep.
she's really pissed off about like these kids half her age with literally no experience or 2 years experience
Yep.
telling her how to run a healthcare system,
And
right?
the coming from out of the out of Kenya, right? You know, telling you how to run Kenyan's healthcare thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but even if it's like someone from Kenya, it doesn't
Ah, I
affect
see. I see. I see what you're saying. Yes, 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 yes. You could still have that education or that mindset and stuff from. Yep. I see. I see. Yep.
um yeah. And so like I wrote the essay and then I discovered like someone else written a very similar essay about like Eco Atlantic in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't like talk as much about the McKinsey of public service. Um, but like there are all these like similarities about like 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 um this like yeah the shift the liberation of economics
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like Milton Friedman, and I can talk about Milton Friedman for days. And it's a global thing. It's like
Totally.
the same reason the American healthcare is non-existent is the same reason the Kenyan healthcare is non-existent. Because a bunch of people convinced, like they put in power that like we've got to privatize everything. Let's
Yep.
make everything privatized.
Yep.
Like demolish the public healthcare infrastructure. Let's like and so like it's like the same failures of the American health system are like the same failures of the Kenyan health system and the same failures of the Nigerian health system because there's a common denominator at play in all these places.